How did a penal colony for political dissidents end up as a monarchy, sitting atop one of the galaxy's most valuable resources? Welcome to Venus, the solar system's most bizarre colony. What If presents Future Now. Venus, the second planet from the Sun. It's completely inhospitable for life. Between the hellish temperatures, dense poisonous atmosphere, and crushing pressure, nothing can survive on the planet's surface. Yet floating in its upper atmosphere are a series of city-sized balloons, each of them supporting part of the galaxy's most unforgiving colony. Why would anyone choose to live in such a cramped space with limited resources where any mistake could kill them? The answer? They didn't. Someone put them there because they wanted them to suffer. The Venusian prison was built to be punishing. It had become the home for Earth's political dissidents, hackers, and terrorists, whose ideas were deemed too dangerous for the societies they lived in. Sunside is cramped, with interior temperatures that routinely hit 50 degrees Celsius. The work details are even worse. Prisoners are sent into the hellscape of the upper atmosphere to harvest carbon dioxide, which is used as a feedstock for algae, Sunside's main source of food. With transport to the prison expensive, supplies and parts were often late, if they arrived at all. This means suit failures are common. A neat way of getting around the no death penalty legislation governing the prison. Those lack of resources also hampered the station's technical and security personnel. Bound to multi-year contracts that paid poorly, with limited opportunities to leave Sunside, the guards began to feel like de facto prisoners themselves. As more systems began to fail, Sunside's warden and key leadership faced an unusual choice: loosen security so that the inmates could help keep the prison functional, or try to escape the colony and risk becoming prisoners themselves. So began the collaboration. As they worked together, the guards began to feel a connection with their Paradisian charges and rejected their superiors' demands to punish the prisoners. That led to the One Shot Rebellion, where, after a single warning shot, the guards surrendered their weapons and a new, unified community began to work at retrofitting the prison. A new society began, based on the Paradisian ideas that had sparked the revolution. The Venusians expected the international community, who had utilized the prison, would recapture the station. But with the rise of for-profit prisons on Earth, why send more prisoners to Venus when the new Confederacy would pay countries for them instead? The Venusians were ignored. But how would the Venusians survive isolated on such a harsh planet? One of the quirks of the newly named Sunside colonies was the existence of total surveillance. All parties agreed that with trust still developing and the razor-thin margin for survival, that surveillance was the only way to avoid a catastrophic act of sabotage. Soon enough, the appeal of watching your neighbors fight or fornicate faded. Living a totally observed life became normal for Venusians. It even ended up being beneficial, catching accidents as they happened, and when a nascent government was formed, helping to make corruption almost impossible. With no more supplies on the way, the Venusians quickly learned to expand the use of CO2 to manufacture synthetic fuels and even make carbon nanotubes. The extremely strong and light building material dramatically improved the Venusian structure resistance to accidents and aging. And they could sell their carbon products, helping preserve an essential supply chain. The modest success of the colony, though, created a new threat: procreation. With immigration close to nil, Venus needed an influx of youth to survive. But each new child carried the risk of pushing the colony's food, water, and building resources to the breaking point. An unspoken tradition began. When a younger colonist reached 11, the age of competence, the oldest colonist would volunteer to leave in a ceremony known as the running. Transport was prohibitively expensive. Many runnings ended with the volunteer exiting an airlock, not boarding a supply ship. A temporary reprieve came from an unlikely place: the never-ending cameras. Venusians grew to learn that millions of people on Earth were watching their feeds, fascinated by the unfettered access to other people's lives, and by the drama of trying to survive on station. Sensing an opportunity to further drive interest in the streams, the Venusians declared the current Prime Minister Queen and labeled her husband and children the Royal Family. An edited version that maximized the drama the royals faced was a hit, driving additional revenue to the colony, enough to potentially stave off future runnings. Then the 2078 discovery of the Penal process changed everything. Carbon nanotubes became far faster and cheaper to produce. Overnight, every industry, from spacecraft to construction to pharmaceuticals, were finding ways to use the nanotubes. A run on CO2 began, but trying to take it from Earth's atmosphere was entangled in a host of environmental regulations, not to mention the risk of angering the terrestrial powers. Venus, Earth's closest neighbor, and awash in CO2, became a logical supplier, though the newfound wealth made them a target for raiders. The colony, still poor even with the royal streaming money, were unable to build up their mining and security forces enough to control the now suddenly valuable resource. Worse, spending their limited resources at war has left Cloud City even more fragile and vulnerable to starvation. Now, Venus is frantically casting about for a partner who can help them mine the CO2, securing a brighter future for the colony and ending the running for good. And rumors abound, the royal family have offered the hand of Princess Morella in marriage to cement an alliance with the Wangs, one of the Earth's wealthiest families and leaders in the off-Earth industry. While on station, conflict between factions favoring fighting versus trade versus selling Cloud City and abandoning the colony has arisen. Surveillance outages have begun, leading to fears that the Paradisian mindset is dying and that a second rebellion may be in the offing, one that will involve far more than one shot. Subscribe to Future Now and dive even deeper into the multiverse of possibility that is our future.